Back to you.
Okay. So any questions, feel free to ask them at any time. So the first ice cream is going to be candy cane ice cream. And of course, the ultimate judge of whether it's any good or not is when you taste it. So reserve your judgment till you taste it. Where's the mix?
I'll get that next.
Okay, next we're going to talk about what you put. Have any of you hands-on used any of these machines yet? You have? That's it? You have? You know, you could always do this and I'll know instantly. Okay, or you don't have to do that apparently. So what we're going to do, as I said, they're all in the book, and I use certain formulas all the time. For instance, when I use vanilla extract in my product, I use 1 ounce per quart of dairy mix. The dairy mix comes in these bladders, and you can get them from various places. In Florida, there are 3 places that sell them. And they come 2 of these to a box, which is a carton. These are 10 quarts, and this is pretty much the standard in the industry. And
I thought it came from udders.
What?
Udders.
What do you say?
You said bladders.
Yes, bladders.
Didn't it come from udders?
Oh,
okay,
this is
thanks,
the
Ken.
comedy section of the show. Silly me,
Oh,
I
sorry.
didn't think of that. Anyhow,
My bad.
That's Ken, our IT man, who's running the equipment in the back room.
and we'll
This is
leave
his last appearance on the show if he keeps it up.
We'll leave the jokes to all the udders who Anyway, these are probably the most unwieldy things you'll have to deal with. And I have several female employees, and these are heavy, and they're unwieldy, and if you drop them, of course, you don't want to drop them. So what I tell them is to just take our pitchers, and it's a little more time consuming, but you pour a few quarts in the pitcher, pour that into the machine. Now today I'm going to use 5 quarts of this, which is half. So we have to measure it out.
Oops, sorry.
We'll use 5 quarts. Do we need all these papers here?
No, we don't.
That was my way of saying, get these papers out of here.
No, I speak.
You picked right up on that.
I speak ex-hippie.
Okay.
Come on in. We have some stragglers coming in.
Okay, so we're
Come on
going to
in.
need 5 quarts of this, which is half, and we want to be fairly precise. Some things you don't have to be so precise on, this you do.
There's some seats in the back.
And they are labeled, all these nice Cambro pitchers. So we'll go right to 5 quarts, still frozen.
No.
Little
After
bit.
all these days?
A little bit.
Wow.
Okay, 5 quarts.
Just going to do a quick rinse.
All right. Now what he's doing is something I don't do, but it's your machine, you do what you want. Steve sanitizes before he makes the ice cream. I don't do that. I sanitize after I make ice cream, and then I seal up the machine, and it's good the next day. How come? No, because I don't like the smell of Clorox getting near my ice cream.
Okay, so we're 21 minutes into it, and we have our first disagreement. Theoretically, everything from dengue fever to anything else you want to name is in the air and growing bacteria overnight, so I want to sanitize. If you read and follow the instructions, which I have never done in my life, you do not have to rinse after using the Sanitation. It's good to go. I don't read directions, so I do like to throw a clear rinse in. I have been told that I'm contaminating the machine with the tap water by putting the rinse in, but then again, I'm just about to make cherry Italian ice, let's say, and what do you think cherry Italian ice is made out of? Tap water. So the health department get a little crazy. The bottom line, Jeff's opinion, my opinion, you're going to go by what your health department says. They rule the roost.
Well, true and not true. They set the standards, but they're not there when you're actually working. Not that you want to do anything underhanded, but this is an argument we've had since we know each other, many years now. I happen to be a fan of Clorox rather than Sterashine because I'm cheap. And he won't give me Sterashine. If he did, I'd use Sterashine.
Can we roll back that on the tape, Ken, where he says he's cheap? You know, just roll that over 5 times.
So I use Clorox, and we all know what Clorox smells like. I'm sure Sterashine has that sanitizing odor also.
Mountain Fresh.
And I just don't want it in any way near my ice cream. Probably has no bearing on it, but I don't do it. Are we done desanitizing now that you've put tap water in there?
You're good to go.
Okay. I'll take a quart container and leave it. Just a few tips. On your machine, when you get it, you'll have this nice shelf there. Put a little strip of that rubber shelf mat. You know, what is it called? Rubber shelf
Rubber
mat.
shelf mat.
Put it right there so that none of your containers slip and slide. And then when you're cleaning your machine, just throw it in the sink and rinse it off, and it's good to go again. All right, so this is the world's simplest recipe. There are merely 3 ingredients. One is our dairy mix. And we'll put that in now. Don't spill it. And always make sure that the lower gate is closed. Even yesterday I didn't do it. In making ice cream, I poured it in and right out.
And immediately what went through your mind was that
How stupid I am.
deleted Steve Thompson, his expletive deleted machine leaks. And that's the natural reaction when you but you're leaving the gate open.
Okay, the next thing we're going to add is crushed candy canes. It's as simple as that. Everything is a little intricate in life. They make different quality candy canes. You don't have to buy Brock's or Neiman Marcus candy canes, but they do make 2 kinds we found in all the years we're making this. One is real cheap, and it's, regardless where it's made, you'll know when you taste them. I prefer these that are made in Mexico. And they're imported into the United States, and they're delicious. It's probably close to what you grew up on. So we're going to add this right into the machine. Now, I normally, when I'm adding dry ingredients into the dairy mix, I start the machine running, just so that it doesn't clump and it just starts blending it real good. Because when you think about it, all this has to dissolve in the dairy mix. So we're going to start it on and we're just going to pour it right in as it's spinning in there.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does the peppermint or candy cane dust get sticky and get all stuck together?
That's our VOG intercom system, the voice of God.
Okay. What's the question?
Does the candy cane dust get sticky or does it stay like powder?
Well, after we grind them up, the question was, does the candy cane get sticky or does it stay dry and fluffy? Well, after we grind it up, we put it in plastic containers bigger than these because we make a lot of it, and we just throw it in the freezer. And then when we're ready, you saw what I did. I just shake it up. So I don't know how to answer that question.
Ken, I haven't seen it clump up because the machine is mixing it so quickly throughout the entire batch that it doesn't have time.
I said, 1 second, Joe, whatever. Hang on 1 second. So 1 ounce of vanilla for every quart of mix. So there's how many ounces in here? Sharp class. How much what? Good question. Normally I'd make you buy my book for that answer, but I will tell you that because you can write down I'm so benevolent. I will give you every answer to every question. And that question is, how many ounces? I guess we can go. Where's your timer?
Got it here.
Okay. The question was, how many ounces of candy cane? Now, when I make all the formulas, I put them on these little cards. And by the way, making formulas, that's a great thing, because once I show you how to do it, you can make Italian spaghetti sauce ice cream. I mean, you can make anything you want, and it'll be really good. Anyway, once I've got it, I put it on these cards, and I laminate them with a cheap laminator that I buy at Sam's Club, and then I have them in a file box, and that's where they are. That's a long way to answer your question. So for 5 quarts of mix, we're adding 17 ounces, 1 pound, 1 ounce of candy cane, and 5 ounces of vanilla. On all these cards, I have down the left of the ingredients, in this case, mix, vanilla, candy cane, and then I have different sizes for different batch sizes. These are batch freezers, which means they make 1 batch of ice cream. And depending upon what I need, if some lady comes in and wants, why is it always some lady? If some person comes in and wants, if she's having a party and she needs 5 gallons of candy cane, then I'll make a smaller batch than what I would normally make for the store. So I have 1.5, which is great in this machine right here, which is the one I started with. And that's why a lot of my recipes, and all the ones in the book actually, start with a small enough capacity for this machine. This is a 6-quart machine. I now have a 24-quart machine, soon to be half of my machines. So that's why there's different capacities on all these cards. The norm now that I make is 1 full bladder, which is 10 quarts. And that will yield me anywhere between 7 and 8 gallons from my machines. What? The dairy mix, you want me to keep talking?
No, I'm going to throw in a couple of things when you have
the
a take a
dairy
breath.
mix, the question was what percent butterfat. Dairy mix, when you find it, it'll come either in 10%, 12%, or 16% normally. Everybody thinks that if you get the 16, you can make the incredibly rich super premium ice cream. I make the incredibly rich super premium ice cream using 10%. So much so that 1 week, I get it delivered every week. 1 week, about a year and a half ago, they were out and they delivered 12%. Well, I took it because I needed it. And the first batch I made, I threw away. It was awful. I didn't like 12%. It was too gummy for me. Now, I don't make any money off of Steve's sales of machines, so he's just a good friend. But these machines enable you to make incredible ice cream out of any percent you want to use, because of the speeds that you can use on the machine, and also the nature of the machine. Go ahead.
We almost had, well, let me back up and tell you that I give every one of my customers my home telephone number. As president of this company, I am as accessible as anybody, or more so than anybody has ever been in the frozen dessert business. Taylor's not going to give you the president's home phone number. Capajani isn't going to give you the CEO's home phone number. And here's why. We almost had a crisis a second ago making Jeff's product. By the way, my home phone number, and if you have a burning question that can't wait and you want to interrupt my dinner or mowing or anything else like that, you're welcome to. 914-643-7391. Call the factory first. I have more resources here. But after business hours, holidays, weekends, you could call me. I like to call it Stump the Chump, and I'm the chump. And that is, you call up with what seems to be to you a crisis, and what to me is every day. But this one that just happened now would have stumped me for a few minutes. This is a water-cooled machine. water comes in to cool the engine that we call the compressor. And the water comes in at tap water and then goes through the machine and then goes out to the sink. And we throw it away. That's actually very efficient. Stumping the chump, if the line was crimped, someone stepped on it, not stepped on it, but let's say the wheel cut off the line. Certainly if the water line in is crimped and it can't get water, it's going to overheat and shut off. If it can't get rid of the water, it's going to overheat and shut off. If the return line is crimped, same thing. The line wasn't crimped, but Jeff, and I didn't catch it either, so no offense to Jeff, the sink he used to get ready to wash his tubs, it's a 3-compartment sink. He filled that sink all the way up with soapy water, and I'm sitting there washing off a utensil I just used, and I go, this sink's filled with water. This is where my water line drains to. Therefore, that tub full of water is keeping the water from the compressor draining away. It would have backed up within about another minute. The compressor would have shut off on overloads because it was overheated, and we'd be making an excuse why we're waiting 5 minutes for it to cool back down. You call me up and you say, my compressor stopped. My first question will be, when did it last run right? Well, it ran right, 8 o'clock this morning. Well, the machine didn't break between 8 o'clock this morning and 9:30 this morning, so let's look for an external source. And sure enough, that's what it was, is both neither Jeff nor I noticed that the sink was full, so it couldn't possibly get rid of the return water. Was that a long enough break there, Ken?
I'm sorry, I fell asleep.
Okay, next subject. I have some general rules for making ice cream, and I'll bet you that Jeff's formulas fall within the same idea. And it doesn't mean they're perfect for you, but it gives you a good basis. If you're using a flavor like the peppermint, the candy cane, or if you're using, I'm going to make peppermint ice cream. If it's a 12-quart machine, I use a quart or a pound of flavor into the machine. If I'm using the 24-quart machine, I use 2 quarts or 2 pounds. I love Jeff's idea of an ounce of vanilla per quart. That makes a great everything. But just, you figure 1 to 1. Now, if the 12-quart machine takes a pound of the peppermint, how much does the 6-quart make? Anybody? Half a pound, exactly. So if you have a 6-quart machine, just take my 12-quart recipe and divide it in half.
Why is her ice cream going to be different from your ice cream when you use the same ingredients? Timing, as Clyde McFadder sang about, I think. Anyway, I like to take my ice cream out a little sooner than Steve takes his out, and that makes a different ice cream. So there's art and there's science. The science will be the ingredients and the precise amounts you use. The art, when you add those ingredients, sooner in the batch, later in the batch, and when you extract or extrude, I've always...
Either one.
When you take it out of the machine. Now, see the break there? This is nice and soft, and I like it like this. Steve lets it go a little firmer. It doesn't matter. I think it does, but he says it doesn't.
Whatever you like.
Well, it has to, oh, I'm sorry, you had a question about an hour ago. What was that?
Well, with this one, isn't it all the same one that freezes, or no?
No, because if you take something really hard and freeze it, it'll freeze differently than if you take something really soft and freeze it. And it depends where in the freezer you put it, which freezer you put it in, and how long you leave it in there before you sell it.
My ice cream is going to end up heavier than Jeff's because I'm freezing it stiffer. It's retarding the overrun or air content, and I can do that either way.
Ice cream.
I can do it by speed, and I can do it by time, the combination. So it ends up, like Jeff says, it's art. You make it the way you want. These machines that have an automatic timer that makes vanilla in 8 minutes, they're useless when you go to make strawberry, because the higher sugar content of strawberry takes longer to freeze. So there is some art to making ice cream, but as you'll see today, it's a pretty simple art. Yes?
Is timing important in sorbet?
I'm sorry?
Timing important in sorbet?
Is timing important in sorbet? Not nearly as much. The higher the sugar content of a product, now see what Jeff's doing? Let me get him to get this out, and then I'll answer your question. That looks beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
And look, it's not bright red. There's no artificial colors in there. It's just got a slight reddish hue to it. Ken, can you zoom in? It's got a slight reddish hue to it from the candy cane. Oh, you didn't mention, what about using the green candy canes? What happens?
What do you mean green candy?
Have you ever used the green candy canes? You can buy candy
no, we
canes.
don't eat green food. Nobody likes green food.
They make candy canes that have green stripes, and it comes out looking muddy. I mean, it's the worst. So don't buy green candy canes because they're on sale because nobody wants them.
Beautiful color, isn't it?
That is gorgeous. Now, if you'll all come up, we're going to serve you some of this, and you can see how Jeff did. Come on up.
Sammy, come here, girl.